Would you like to learn how to interpret the Ace of Cups when it shows up in a reading? Stay tuned for 3 real-world examples. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In this video, we're diving deep into the Ace of Cups tarot card. I'll be showing you how I interpreted this card in 3 different readings so that you can more confidently interpret it when reading for yourself or others. In the first reading, a woman is considering whether or not she should take a new job in a rural location. In the second reading, a woman is wondering how she can summon a new feeling, which is compassion, for someone who's refusing to help himself. And the final reading is a question about starting a new business. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there's a link below. If you want to take an in-depth look at this card's symbolism and history, which I highly recommend, please check out my video about the Ace of Cups in the link below. To me, the Ace of Cups is always a wonderful card to get in a reading. Aces are about new beginnings and cups are about love and emotion, so this card can signal a new step in a relationship, such as deepening feelings towards a love interest, a marriage proposal, or even the birth of a child. It can also be about deepening our relationship with spirit, or getting in touch with your emotions and learning to love yourself. The Ace of Cups is also a great card if you're reading for somebody who's throwing their heart and soul into a creative project and needs a sign that their future is full of hope. That might be a hobby, work project, or something like renovating your home. For instance, I'm a quilter, and I love that feeling when I start a new project. Aces are all about potential, and there's a long way to go until you reach the 10s and complete your project. The Ace of Cups represents that vision in my head, and I haven't yet run out of fabric or made stupid, frustrating mistakes. The same is true with relationships. For instance, nothing compares to your love toward a new baby, but there's a long way to go until it's grown, and that pure love gets challenged by dirty diapers, temper tantrums, schoolyard bullying, surly teens, and a whole lot more. When reading tarot, context is important, so the reading can vary depending on where it shows up in a reading. You'll notice that the Ace of Cups appears in the first position in all 3 of these readings. This was not my intention. One thing I love about keeping tarot journals is it shows patterns, and as I went through my readings, I noticed that the Ace of Cups almost always shows up in the first position. So it's not surprising all these readings have to do with new beginnings. In the first reading, a woman is considering whether or not she should take a new job in a rural location. In the second reading, a woman is wondering how she can summon a new feeling, which is compassion, for someone who's refusing to help himself. And the final reading is a question about starting a new business. The first reading is called Starting Over, and I've linked to it below. It's about a woman named Whitney who was offered a job that required her to move to a new house in a very rural location. Whitney's big concern was that she would be lonely, so she consulted the cards to see if she should take the job. She didn't use any kind of a spread. The cards she pulled were the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and the 4 of Wands. Let's look more closely at the Ace of Cups since it's the subject of this reading. As I said in the beginning, aces are about new beginnings, and cups are about emotions, trusting your intuition, and deepening your connection with spirit. In this case, the Ace of Cups is telling Whitney that this move is a gift from spirit and loneliness won't be an issue. The Ace of Cups also tells me that Whitney needs to make this decision based on her emotions rather than her thoughts. It's really hard to quantify loneliness on a spreadsheet. I think it's more of a feeling thing, and I think that Whitney needs to visit the location and see how it feels to her. She should spend a couple of days there and visit the local bar, coffee shop, restaurant, library, church, skating rink, grocery store, park, gas station, bookstore, or whatever else is of interest to her. This should give her a sense of how friendly the people are and whether she feels like she can make a home there. The Ace of Cups shows us a hand that is extended with an open palm. I think this signifies the openness of people in this rural location and their willingness to form a strong, emotional connection with Whitney. This could be anything from friendly neighbors to supportive coworkers to a romantic connection. All this bodes well because it was the social connection piece that Whitney was worried about. On the open palm is a dove above the chalice with a wafer in its mouth. Doves represent peace. I believe that Whitney will be at peace if she follows through with this opportunity. If she does feel alone, I think she will enjoy the solitude of the location, partly because she finds the setting, as we can see in the card, to be very beautiful. I have a friend who just retired, along with her husband, to Eastern Canada after living in cities for most of their lives. They have a house alongside the water and are constantly posting pictures of wildlife. Despite moving more than 1,000 miles away from their children and friends, the natural beauty of their new home keeps them from feeling alone. And I think that Whitney will experience the same kind of peace. A final thought about the aces is that they don't guarantee results. It's only the first step. The Ace of Cups tells us that Whitney's new job carries with it a huge potential for her to make friends, but the outcome is not guaranteed. I think that the potential of Whitney making friends is further represented by the green hill on the left side of the card. Green is the color of adventure, growth, and health, so that bodes well for making friends. However, to get there, Whitney has to cross a lot of water, which can represent emotions and intuition. Whitney needs to be aware that making new friends will not necessarily be easy and will require her to get in touch with her emotions and intuition. I can certainly relate to this. My husband and I had 2 big moves in our marriage, and both were about 3,000 miles. It is challenging to make new friends, and you have to take risks. Whitney will not make friends if she hides out in her house because she doesn't want to be the new kid. She will likely have to push through fear and other emotions in order to make friends. The second card in this reading was the Ace of Swords, which also signifies new beginnings that are a gift from Spirit. In this case, swords represent that Whitney is being given the gift of clear, logical thought. This is the opposite to the Ace of Cups, where the message was for Whitney to rely on her emotions and intuition. The Ace of Swords tells us that Whitney needs to look at the move logically, perhaps by making a list of the pros and cons of living in a very rural location where she doesn't know anybody. The 2 edges of the sword, when combined with the previous card, indicate that Whitney needs to give her thoughts and her feelings equal weight in deciding her move. The final card is the 4 of Wands. This celebratory card also signifies new beginnings and indicates that Whitney has successfully transitioned to her new home and job. 4s are all about stability. We can see that Whitney is in a stable situation and is part of a close and happy community. It's even possible that Whitney will meet the love of her life and get married. The second reading is one that I conducted for a woman who I will call Anna. You can see the cards, and I will give you a bit of background before we discuss them further. Anna requested a reading because she wants to have a new start with her feelings toward her son. I have done several readings like this before, and they're always very sad. Anna is a single parent in her 60s and has 1 child, a son who I will call Donald, in his mid-30s. Anna and her ex-husband divorced when Donald was a baby, and the ex-husband hasn't been in the picture since. Donald wasn't the easiest child and started drinking when he was about 13. Anna thinks that he started using marijuana about the same time, followed by harder drugs, and he was much more interested in partying than attending school. Shortly after he turned 18, Donald was arrested for selling drugs and went to prison for 4 years. During that time, Donald turned his life around. He got clean, earned his high school diploma, and once he was out of jail, got a manual labor job for a local builder. He met and married a nice girl, and they have 2 children who are ages 5 and 8. Sadly, 3 years ago, Donald got injured at work and needed surgery. He was put on painkillers, became addicted, and his life pretty much fell apart. His wife now has custody of the children. Donald lived with Anna for a while. Unfortunately, he was hanging around with other drug addicts, and this scared Anna. She told her son that he needed to get clean or find a new place to live. Donald chose to leave. Anna's angry. This time, Donald isn't just ruining his own life, and hers, he's now ruining the life of his ex-wife and children. She has tried her best to convince him to seek treatment, but he doesn't want to. Her anger about this situation is destroying her own health. This led to her question, how can I feel compassion toward Donald when he's not taking any action to help himself? Card number 1, the Ace of Cups, looks at what Anna needs to accept about Donald to find peace. Card number 2, the Queen of Swords, looks at how her acceptance can strengthen their mother-son bond. Card number 3, the Seven of Wands reversed, looks at what steps Anna needs to take to accept this situation. As I mentioned in the first reading, aces are about new beginnings, and cups are about emotions, trusting your intuition, and deepening your connection with spirit. I believe that the Ace of Cups is telling Anna that to feel compassion toward Donald, she needs to get in touch with her emotion, trust her intuition, and connect with spirit. When I look at the droplets of water, I see tears, and I think that Anna really needs to cry. She could probably fill an entire ocean with her tears, and that's okay. I think that as a single mom to a troubled son, she's had to hold it together. And now it's time for a new beginning where she stops pretending that everything is okay and leans into her sadness. The water is falling onto a pond covered with either water lilies or lotus flowers. In Buddhism, lotus flowers represent purity and spiritual awakening. In Hinduism, the lotus flower represents beauty, fertility, and prosperity. For those of us in America, water lilies symbolize enlightenment and resurrection. All of these represent transformation and show that Anna's tears will be incredibly healing and help her to move to the next step in her life. It's also interesting that some of the flowers are open and some are closed. This represents current and future opportunities for Anna to grow emotionally and spiritually. I think that once Anna releases her emotions, she will be able to feel compassion for her son. Cups also represent love, and I think this card represents Anna's tremendous love for her son. I think that's why she's so angry at him. We don't get upset about people we don't care about. Cups are also about potential. In the first reading, Whitney had the potential to make friends when she moved. In this case, we're looking at Anna's potential to find compassion, but her journey is one that needs to happen internally. I have adult children and can say for certain that you can't make them do anything. To find peace, I think that Anna needs to remind herself that this is Donald's journey and he has to find his own way. In the same vein, she has to find peace within herself and no longer wait for Donald's circumstances to change. Finally, Anna needs to practice self-love and take good care of herself because, as I mentioned at the beginning, her stress over this situation is destroying her own health. We see one cup resting on Spirit's hand. This should remind Anna that she's in Spirit's hand and needs to focus on herself and her healing. She needs to work through difficult emotions, which might include guilt from leaving Donald unsupervised as a child because she was working to pay the bills, and she has to do this in order to find peace within herself. I think that once Anna develops more compassion towards herself, she will be able to experience more compassion toward her son. The second card in the reading is the Queen of Swords. This shows how Anna's acceptance of the situation can strengthen their mother-son bond. In this card, we see a cherub under the armrest of the Queen's throne. Cherubs are childlike, angelic beings, and it tells us that Anna still feels very protective of her son. Swords are about communicating the truth, and despite her soft spot for Donald, Anna has managed to make it very clear about the boundaries in their relationship moving forward. She has a sharp intellect and is able to cut through Donald's lies and discern the truth. This card tells me that Anna is able to separate her love for Donald from his current actions, so she's never lost her love for him. But she also knows that she needs to protect her safety, and she's okay with creating firm boundaries, such as not allowing him to live with her. The reverse Seven of Wands tarot card looks at what steps Anna needs to take to accept the situation with Donald, where her son isn't taking any actions to help himself. In the upright position, the Seven of Wands means that you're experiencing a struggle in your life and you need to be vigilant, stand up for what you believe in, and face the conflict with bravery and courage. I think those days are long gone. In the reverse position, this card tells us that Anna is exhausted by the struggle, fighting a losing battle, or that Donald has given up the fight. This tells me that it's time for Anna to focus on herself. As I've mentioned in the preceding cards, this situation is harming Anna's health. It's time to give up trying to find help for Donald, which is something that she can't control, and focus on finding help for herself, which is something that she can control. In our final reading, we'll talk about the reversed Ace of Cups. But first, if you're getting benefit from this video, I hope that you'll take a moment to subscribe. It's free for you and you'll get notified when I post videos so you don't miss anything. It will also help me to grow this channel. The final reading is called Business Startup. I will post the link below if you want to check out the entire reading. And here we find the Ace of Cups in the reverse position. The reversed Ace of Cups can mean that you are experiencing unrequited love, that you are afraid to start a new relationship or project, that you are experiencing creative blocks, or that you are either too emotional or repressing your emotions. The reversed Ace of Cups can also signify that instead of your cup overflowing, the liquid in it has run out. You're feeling drained, empty, depressed, isolated, or disconnected. Let me give you some background for this reading, which is for a 32-year-old woman who I will call Kayla. Kayla came to me with the question, should I quit my job and start a Reiki business? If you're not familiar with Reiki, it's a form of energy healing where the practitioner channels energy through their hands and into the client's body. The goal is to help the client relax and promote healing. Kayla currently works in a big box retail store. Her opinion of her job ranges from dislike to hatred. A friend recommended Reiki treatments to help Kayla deal with the job stress. Not only did Kayla find the treatments helpful, she also felt like she'd found her calling. She studied with a Reiki master and completed the 3 levels of training. Kayla was very excited to quit her job and embark on a new journey as a Reiki healer. Her question was, should I quit my job and start a Reiki business? In position number 1, Advantages, Kayla drew the Ace of Cups reversed. In position 2, Disadvantages, Kayla drew the Fool. And in position 3, Advice, Kayla drew the Page of Swords. Position number 1, the Ace of Cups reversed, represents the benefits of Kayla starting a Reiki practice. It would have been awesome to see the Ace of Cups in this position. As we've already learned, aces are about new beginnings, and this would have represented a wonderful start to Kayla's Reiki business. It would signify that Kayla was opening her heart and experiencing a new beginning in her life, specifically in a business that was emotionally fulfilling, involved positive relationships, and used her intuition. Reiki is about using your hands to channel energy, and we see a hand with droplets of water that could represent a Reiki treatment. The 5 streams of water signify the 4 elements, water, fire, earth, and air, that are represented by cups, wands, pentacles, and swords. The 5th stream of water represents spirits. This would have indicated that Kayla would be bringing a full range of tools to her client's healing journey. The dove on top of the chalice represents peace. Again, in the upright position, the Ace of Cups would have represented the beginning of something that would have given Kayla and her clients a great deal of peace. However, we are dealing with the Ace of Cups in the reverse position. The reversed Ace of Cups can mean that Kayla is too emotional, not dealing with her emotions, or feeling creatively stuck. It can represent Kayla's fear of starting her business or her lack of relationship with spirit. Finally, it can mean that Kayla is not listening to her intuition or does not trust her intuition. So how does the reversed Ace of Cups represent how Kayla will benefit from running her business? I've had my own business for more than 30 years, and I know firsthand that owning a business can be a vehicle for personal growth. And I think this is true for Kayla. We all have stuff in our lives that we need to work on, and starting a Reiki business will give Kayla the opportunity to face some of her issues. The first thing Kayla will have to deal with is around the area of her emotions. Kayla works retail in a big box store, so I expect that her job doesn't involve a deep connection with customers. This is the opposite of what she will experience doing Reiki, where she'll have a one-on-one relationship with people who need some kind of physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. I have a close friend who's a massage therapist, and she does Reiki-style energy work as part of her practice. Her clients have experienced all kinds of trauma that they will share during their treatment. People drawn to healing tend to be very empathic, and it is a learned skill to be able to acknowledge people's pain and keep some level of emotional distance. These aren't skills that Kayla is using working retail. Kayla will need to learn how to ground herself, how to create healthy boundaries with her clients, and how to deal with her own emotions that arise from sessions in a healthy manner. The next issue Kayla must deal with are her fears around starting her Reiki business. As we look ahead to the next two cards, we see the childlike, impulsive side of Kayla that just wants to jump into her Reiki business without any preparation. The reversed Ace of Cups is a message that Kayla needs to do some serious planning so that she anticipates what's going to happen with her business. This will also require her to face her fears. For instance, Kayla may believe that she's not good with money, yet running her own business will require her to create a budget, figure out how to keep financial records, and find a bookkeeper or accountant. Kayla may need to address other fears, such as fears around failure, fears about not being a good enough Reiki practitioner, fears around trying to keep some kind of a work-life balance, or fears around being too successful and not being able to handle all of her clients. Although overcoming these require work, and I can say as a business owner that these are ongoing issues for most of us, it is a good thing for Kayla to be addressing these issues. To do so, Kayla might want to seek professional advice. She could talk to other Reiki practitioners and ask how they overcame their fears. She could also start working with a therapist, coach, or business advisor to help get a handle on any emotions that will hold her back. The final issues that Kayla needs to consider are her relationship with herself regarding her intuition and her relationship with spirit, which we can see needs some work. In my opinion, these are linked and essential to becoming a good Reiki practitioner. It would be beneficial for Kayla to figure out a structure to protect her spiritual and intuitive connections before she starts her business. This might be starting a practice of journaling, learning to meditate, making time every morning to go for a walk outdoors and experience nature, or finding a group of like-minded people. Her plan might include spacing out her clients so that she has time to reset between appointments, or making sure that she eats healthy food, gets sleep, and takes 2 days off every week. Position number 2 looks at challenges involved with Kayla starting a Reiki practice, and she drew the Fool. The Fool card is about taking a leap of faith and embracing the unknown, even though you are naive, unprepared, or impulsive. This card tells me that Kayla is facing challenges because she hasn't done any planning and has naively expected things would work out. Fortunately, this can be remedied by doing research, which we know from the Page of Swords in the next card is something that Kayla is more than capable of doing. Position number 3 provides advice on whether Kayla should move forward with starting a Reiki practice. Kayla drew the Page of Swords. Pages are the students of the deck, and swords are about communication and intellect. So I believe that Kayla can be successful if she embraces this youthful energy, eagerness to learn, and ability to communicate. It will take work, but she definitely has the ability to learn and to create this path of success. I hope that seeing the Ace of Cups in these readings will help you interpret this card when you conduct readings of your own. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you've learned or your experience with this card. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.